I'm Teen Talk Barbie, the spokesdoll for the BLO. That stands for the Barbie Liberation Organization. We're an international group of children's toys that are revolting against the companies that made us. We've turned against our creators because they use us to brainwash kids. They build us in a way that perpetuates gender-based stereotypes.
In 1993, a group known as the Barbie Liberation Organisation, or BLO, completed a mischievous mission to highlight the gender stereotypes generated through the Mattel Corporation's much-loved children's toys, Barbie and G.I. Joe. Having purchased approximately 300 Teen Talk Barbie and Talking Duke G.I. Joe toys, the BLO proceeded to switch their voice chips. Instead of Barbie talking about her dream wedding, she would now growl, "Eat lead, Cobra, and vengeance is mine." On the back of each doll, a small sticker was placed, urging toy owners to call the local TV news. These altered toys were then placed back on store shelves in the weeks leading up to Christmas, ready to surprise families when gifts were unwrapped on Christmas Day. It didn't take long for news companies across America to hear about the prank and begin broadcasting the story and discussions about its meaning. BLO also released their own news broadcast straight from their headquarters, with Teen Talk Barbie as spokesperson. And like that, the BLO had successfully manipulated the Mattel Corporation's own products to spark public discourse about the corporation's messages. This is a trick commonly known as culture jamming. The term culture jamming was originally coined by the San Francisco band Negativland in 1984 and is aimed at resisting dominant ideologies by encouraging the public to reflect on consumer culture. Culture jammers believe that instead of culture being created by the people, it is controlled by corporations and the public is being brainwashed into consumerism. To awaken the public and combat this consumer culture, culture jammers will create media hoaxes, manipulate advertisements, and hack television and radio broadcasts to subvert the messages of the corporate world. It is a way to hold corporations accountable and, in the long term, hopefully affect change.
I donated my voice to a G.I. Joe because they want to be free too. They don't want to say all that violent war stuff. Now he says what I used to say.
Want to go shopping? I love school, don't you? Have such a dream. Will we ever have enough clothes?
What was the Barbie Liberation Organisation aiming to achieve through this prank? As Kathleen Knight Abowitz argues, Barbie represents dominant ideologies of femininity, beauty, and heterosexuality. She is a cultural icon, an object of uncritical devotion for millions of girls and parents around the world. Barbie is portrayed as the epitome of beauty. Golden hair, flawless skin, long skinny legs, and an amazing figure. In the same way, masculinity is presented through G.I. Joe as strong, aggressive, and rugged. When the Mattel Corporation brought out talking Barbies and G.I. Joes, not only did the toys look like the stereotypical perfect man and woman, they were actually telling children what men and women should talk about. Barbie would teach young girls that maths is hard, you can never have too many clothes, and that they should start planning their dream wedding. Young boys would see G.I. Joe yelling out aggressively and combatively, with no sign of emotional connection to others. As such, the BLO felt that if children played with these toys, they would internalise the stereotypes of manhood and womanhood being depicted by the Mattel Corporation. By switching the Barbie and G.I. Joe voice chips, the BLO was able to highlight the stereotypes and encourage children and their parents to think about what their toys were saying. Hearing a Barbie doll yell, "Vengeance is mine," would help them to understand that women are not limited to talking about shopping and weddings. And likewise, the altered G.I. Joe toys would help to show that men do not always need to speak aggressively. So was the BLO prank effective? As Carducci argues in his article Culture Jamming, A Sociological Perspective, culture jamming aims to achieve transparency in the commercial world by cutting through corporate communications and clarifying the underlying messages being fed to the public. As outlined earlier, the BLO pranksters were trying to make a statement about the way toys can encourage negative behaviours in children. By simply switching the voice chips of Barbie and G.I. Joe toys, the BLO were able to generate wide public discourse on the gender stereotypes being promoted by the Mattel Corporation. The BLO Culture Jam differed in its approach compared to many culture jams, and Harold argues that culture jamming in the form of pranks like this one offer a more compelling response than parody to contemporary cultural and economic forces. Harold explains that rather than directly opposing the Mattel Corporation, their prank utilised the Mattel Corporation's own modes of power and communication. Instead of trying to stop the toys being bought, the BLO made use of the fact that they would be purchased to ensure the message reached consumers. In addition, they encouraged media coverage of the prank through stickers on the toys urging owners to contact local news stations, and the release of the BLO's very own media statement. Caducci argues that culture jamming has the greatest potential to achieve results when in service to larger movements, rather than as an end in itself. Instead of simply trying to stop people buying Mattel products, the BLO Culture Jam was used as a political action to encourage social commentary on gender stereotypes. And this was achieved. Multiple news stations across America broadcast the story, and this led to further discussions on the idea of gender stereotypes in the wider public, not simply those to do with children's toys. By attaching the Culture Jam to a wider movement surrounding gender equality, the BLO ensured their prank would be successful in reaching a large audience and highlighting the issues of gender stereotypes.
San Diego's #1 source for news.
7-year-old Zach Zevlin thought this doll was a factory mistake, but it was soon discovered this G.I. Joe was in fact ambushed by the Barbie Liberation Organization.
He's in disguise.
Culture jamming involves subverting the messages of the corporate world to uncover hidden meanings, and the BLO prank was highly successful in achieving this. Through switching the voice chips of Barbie and G.I. Joe toys, the BLO members were able to demonstrate the gender stereotypes being taught to children by the Mattel Corporation. The difference with this culture jam, compared to many, was that instead of resisting the corporation's power, they utilised it to spread their message, creating the BLO news clip depicted throughout this film, and encouraging people to contact local news stations achieved even greater public discourse on issues surrounding gender stereotyping and equality issues in our society. While Barbie and G.I. Joe toys still exist today, and arguably still depict many gender stereotypes, the BLO was able to steal the Mattel Corporation's limelight for a brief moment. And as their video also still exists today, hopefully the BLO's message will continue to be discovered by parents and children across the world.
You can brush my hair, undress me everywhere. Imagination, life is your creation.
Come on, Barbie, let's go party.
I'm a